Imagine that you are the most powerful man in the world. Armies are under your command. Millions of people live or die by your orders. A single word from you could be the cause of war. And yet, every night, you remind yourself of this: you may die today. That man was Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, and at the same time, a philosopher. But what made him truly interesting wasn't his power. It was his ability to control himself while being surrounded by power. Marcus Aurelius was one of the last emperors of Rome's golden age. When he ascended the throne in AD 161, Rome was the most solid superpower in the world, a vast empire stretching from Britain to Mesopotamia, tens of thousands of soldiers, endless political power. But here's the problem: Rome was no longer rising. It was trying to survive. In the north, Germanic tribes were pressing against the borders. In the east, the Parthian Empire posed a constant threat. And right at this time, one of the most devastating plagues in Roman history began: the Antonine Plague. Millions died. The economy trembled. The army weakened. Marcus Aurelius became emperor in the middle of this chaos. Most emperors preferred to stay in Rome in the palace. He spent years on the battlefield instead. He marched in the same mud as his soldiers. He lived day and night in war tents. And it was in those tents, at night, that he kept a journal. Those pages we know today as meditations. But he didn't write that book to publish it. He didn't write it to go down in history. No one was supposed to read it. He wrote it to control himself. Because Marcus Aurelius knew something very well. Defeating your enemies is easy. The real challenge is defeating your ego. In Rome, being emperor meant unlimited power. The Senate was loyal to you. The army was loyal to you. The people were loyal to you. That much power can unbalance a person. But Marcus Aurelius saw power not as a reward, but as a great responsibility. He restricted gladiator games. He preserved balance instead of clashing with the Senate. Even when increasing taxes, he tried to maintain order. For him, the goal wasn't to conquer. The goal was to protect. That's why historians count him among the 5 good emperors, the last link of Rome's stable era. But the story doesn't end there, because Marcus Aurelius's greatest battle wasn't against the Germanic tribes, it was with his own mind. He was a Stoic. Stoicism teaches this: do not suffer over things beyond your control. The only thing you can control is your response. Think about it. While the empire was fighting a plague, while the borders were under threat, while there was political pressure inside, and every morning you look in the mirror and say, today you will encounter ungrateful people. But that is their nature. Do not corrupt your own. This is not weakness. This is extraordinary discipline. Marcus Aurelius's life was filled with constant war. He ruled for about 20 years, and almost all of it was spent on the front lines. Yet Rome did not fall into civil war. The empire did not split apart, because its leader did not make decisions in panic. Today, most of us fall apart over small crises: a message, a comment, a criticism. He, on the other hand, tried to remain calm while holding the fate of millions in his hands. But there is a tragic side to this story. After Marcus Aurelius died, his son took the throne. Commodus. Commodus was the opposite of his father. He succumbed to power. He became cruel. Rome's balance was shaken. Within a generation, the system trembled. This showed us something. Power does not build a system. It magnifies character. If the character is weak, power destroys it. Marcus Aurelius was powerful, but what made him powerful was not the army, but his mind. Marcus Aurelius was powerful, but what made him powerful was not the army, but his mind. And perhaps the greatest tragedy begins right here, because after such a disciplined, balanced emperor, the one who ascended the throne was his own son, Commodus. Commodus was the exact opposite of his father. While Marcus Aurelius wrote in war tents, Commodus indulged himself in the palace. While Marcus Aurelius defined power as a duty, Commodus saw power as a stage. Historians describe Commodus as arrogant, unstable, and cruel. An emperor who ruled not for the Roman people, but for his own interests. And interestingly, there are also rumors that Marcus Aurelius's death was not entirely natural. According to official records, he died of illness in 180. But some sources suggest that Commodus may have accelerated the process to take the throne. There is no definitive proof, but the suspicion remains. Imagine this: a father who dedicated his life to discipline, and a son who destroyed the balance he built within a few years. During Commodus's reign, Rome began to change. The empire was still strong, but it had started to decay from within. Commodus felt like a god. He declared himself the reincarnation of Hercules. He entered the Colosseum as a gladiator and fought before the public. But this was not a display of courage. It was a display of power. His opponents were real gladiators, but no one could harm the emperor. This was not a fight, but a performance. And for the first time, the Roman people felt this. There is not an emperor on the throne, but an actor. Perhaps this is why Ridley Scott's film Gladiator is so powerful. In the film, Marcus Aurelius is portrayed as a wise and dignified emperor. Commodus, on the other hand, is shown as jealous, uncontrolled, and as a figure who kills his father. Historically, the film is not entirely accurate, but the message it gives is very strong. After a wise leader, a weak character in power can rot even the greatest empire. Marcus Aurelius kept Rome standing with his mind. Commodus strained it with his ego, and here is a very important detail. An empire does not collapse first because of external forces. It collapses from within. During Marcus Aurelius's time, there was war, there was plague, there was economic crisis, but there was disciplined order. During Commodus's time, there was hardly any war, but there was zero balance. The difference may seem small, but history breaks exactly in moments like this, and perhaps the most painful truth is this. Marcus Aurelius lived his life with Stoic discipline, but his most critical decision, choosing his heir, may have been emotional, because until that time, the Roman Empire was often governed through adoption. The most capable person was chosen. Marcus Aurelius, however, preferred his own bloodline. Perhaps as a father, it was right. But as an emperor, this is where the debate begins. Commodus's rule may not have begun Rome's fall, but it closed the door to its rise. And this gives us another lesson. It is difficult to obtain power, but it is even more difficult to entrust it to the right person. Marcus Aurelius's victories were written in history, but so was his mistake. Because leadership is not only about today, it is about governing tomorrow as well. Now step back and think. Rome was not shaken that day by external threats. It was shaken by a difference in character. The difference between the discipline of one mind and the recklessness of one ego. Perhaps it changed the course of history, and this story does not belong only to Rome. Today, companies collapse this way. States weaken this way. Even families fall apart this way. If power is in the hands of the right mind, it brings order. In the hands of the wrong mind, it turns into a spectacle. Marcus Aurelius was powerful, but he used his power not by displaying it, but by controlling it. Commodus was powerful, but he could not control his power. And which one does history remember? Now let's ask, honestly, what keeps an empire standing? An army, law, wealth, or the character of a single human being? Today, the reason we speak about Marcus Aurelius is not his victories, not the wars he won, not the lands he governed, because all of that is gone. Rome is gone, the legions are gone, the palaces have fallen, but the thoughts he wrote in that war tent are still being read, because he reminds us of this: life can be chaotic, the world may not be fair, people can be difficult, but you can govern your own mind, and perhaps that is the true power. Marcus Aurelius was not born a philosopher, he was not born an emperor, but by training himself every day, he became both. Now the real question is this: if power were placed in your hands, would you be able to control your mind, or would power control you?